tonight's meeting to order. Roll call, please.
Trustee Hargis.
Here.
Trustee Marvella.
Here.
Trustee McCarthy.
Here.
Trustee White.
Here.
Mayor Bruno.
Here. Please stand for tonight's invocation and pledge of allegiance. Tonight's invocation will be led by Pastor Ken Langley from Christ Community Church.
And although I'm not going to preach a sermon, I promise, I would like to share briefly 2 verses from the Bible that will help explain why I pray the way I pray. The book of Psalms says, do not put your trust in princes, but put your trust in God. And the book of Proverbs says that when the righteous rule, people are happy. When the wicked rule, people are sad. If you only believe one of those verses, you might conclude that government doesn't matter. Well, just put your trust in God. The political process doesn't matter. But the other verse is a corrective to that. It's a reminder that government makes a difference, and that people do not prosper under oppressive, tyrannical, or incompetent government. So I'm going to pray for a biblical balance for our communities. Let's pray together. Father, especially so close to an election, it is possible for your people and others who at least respect the counsel of the Bible to err in one of these directions, to throw in the towel, and because things don't go the way they want, figure that government doesn't matter anyway and is going to stay out of politics. And then there are others who recognize how important the political process is and make it, unfortunately, all important. And we just pray that you would help us to be balanced people, to trust you, to look to you for all good gifts, but at the same time to recognize that sometimes you give those good gifts through the political process. And that's why we commit this evening's deliberations to you, asking not only that you will give these civic leaders wisdom, but that you would make them virtuous, righteous leaders. Give us, we pray, good government. And then we're mindful, Lord, of the passing of former mayor and ask for your mercy on his family as they grieve. With the hope of the gospel be very, very real for Mayor Loy's family, we ask. And we ask it in your Son's name. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I need a motion to approve the October 18th, 2022 regular board meeting minutes.
So moved.
Any discussion on that? On those? Roll call, please.
Hargis.
Pass.
Mayor Bella.
Aye.
McCarthy.
Aye.
White.
Aye.
Motion carried. Move on to mayor's report. I need a motion to adopt the appointment resolution appointing retired Sergeant Richard Brown as a part-time police officer.
So moved. Second.
Mr. Brown, Officer Brown, would you have something to say?
Sure. Some of you know me, some of you don't. Retired from Zion. Been in law enforcement for 22 plus years. Served in the Army for 18 plus, retired from there. Was a federal agent to the Army as well, and lived in the area for about half of my life. Raised our 6 children in the Zion-Benton area, and look forward to working with Winthrop Harbor. Some of the specialties include juvenile officer, detective, and obviously a supervisor on the road for many years. So I know Chief Campanella very well. We've worked together many, many years, and a lot of the officers as well. And I look forward to serving with you guys and for you guys, and I appreciate the appointment should you so vote. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. So, if I heard say a few words, man.
Yes, go ahead.
Just, Trustee Weiss and I had a chance to kind of meet via Skype with Officer Brown. Was that yesterday?
Yes.
Yesterday? Okay, the day kind of put together. And just very impressed with everything. Just want to say how grateful we are that you chose to come work with our department. We know your arm was twisted a little bit for that, so we're appreciative of, you know, the chief and Sergeant Bagdal and everyone who helped make that possible, and just really grateful for Chief Moan, you know, continued work to bring, you know, these great officers to our community. So we're welcome, and thank you for being part of our team. Thank you.
Yeah, just to add to that, having raised 6 children really gets them ready to be an officer with a fire. Teenage kids, no. His background is just fantastic. When he gave us his background, it was just, I mean, he could probably talk a whole hour and not be done with what he's done. So having a quality officer come in the Winthrop Harbor to add to the other quality officers that we have here, again, makes us one of the best and safest communities in the state of Illinois.
Yeah, I also want to say with your credentials, we're very lucky to have you, and I know you're going to be fit just perfectly in our police department. Roll call.
Target,
Aye.
Mirabella.
Aye.
McCarthy.
Aye.
White.
Aye.
Motion carries. We move on to item 2. I need a motion to adopt resolution appointing Jenna Sanchez as a part-time recreation administrative assistant.
So,
Second.
All right, discussion. This position remained vacant for several months due to no interest. Jenna has been an active member of the Parks and Rec Board for several years. I am delighted to present the board this appointment resolution for Jenna to the board for her appointment to the position of part-time recreation administrative assistant. It is great that Jenna will continue to serve the residents of Winthrop Harbor in a new role. Jenna will be stepping down from the Parks and Rec Board, and I would like to see if Trustee Mirabella would have any comments.
Yeah, I just want to say, she's always there to help for gym nights or the kids' nights. She's always there for functions. The selfish part of me doesn't want her to leave the rec board, because we have hard to get members on our rec board, as David knows. He's been here a short time, but it's mostly made up of women. There's a few guys. Her husband is on there. It takes a lot to do that. They do a lot with a little bit of people, and it's just hard to get people. So there's no doubt in my mind she'll serve very well as that point. But selfishly, I wish she would stay in the other position, but it's going to help Scott.
Now, I went to the Park and Rec Board meeting last night. Jenna's got it under control.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and she'll keep Scott straight, too.
Oh, absolutely.
No, they'll work real well together. You could see that last night.
Yep.
Will work real well together.
She's been around for a while, so.
Yep. All right. Roll call, please.
Target,
Aye.
Mirabella.
Aye.
McCarthy.
Aye.
White.
Aye.
Motion carried. We move on to item 3. I need a motion to adopt the resolution, appointment resolution for appointing Lene Klinger as an EDC board member.
so moved.
Second.
Okay, I want to read her bio that was provided to me from Lene. She says, I grew up in Zion Benton Township and have lived in Winthrop Harbor for the last 20 years. There is so much potential in the village, and I want to use my business background to support the Economic Development Commission to drive development. I have strong family roots in this community and a passionate desire to continue to support the businesses in our neighborhood. I work for a large scientific products company, managing a team of installation coordinators. During my downtime, I enjoy our wonderful lakefront. I have 2 small dogs named after characters in movies and books. Lene, would you have anything you want to add?
Hi, everyone. I'm just very delighted to be here tonight and, to be nominated to be on the Economic Development Commission board. I think this village has a lot of potential, as was mentioned, but yeah, whatever I can do to help support and drive, future plans, I'm all in.
Thank you, Lene. We always need very strong people on the EDC,
Okay.
and you will be that one of those people, so
Thanks.
thank you.
I'm up for it.
Roll call, please.
Target,
Aye.
Mirabella.
Aye.
McCarthy.
Aye.
White.
Motion carried. We move on to item number 4. I need a motion to approve resolution ratifying the Public Works collective bargaining agreement.
So moved.
Second. The term of the agreement was discussed in the executive session in our prior meeting with the final agreement in your board packet. I believe this agreement is fair for the Public Works staff and fair for the village. We appreciate the great service our Public Works staff provides our community. I want to recognize and thank our Public Works Superintendent Tim Nergardner for taking the lead on these negotiations and diligently working with Local 150 on this agreement. And I would like to see if anybody, like Trustee Mirabella, has
Yeah,
any.
so, just so everybody knows, because of the good relationship that Tim and Rex have, Rex is the union representative, I believe that's what made this possible. They have a good relationship, they work together every day, they hash it out. This is the fastest it's ever been done since I've been here, so it's phenomenal to me, so it's awesome. It just shows that we can work together and make things happen.
I was in those negotiations and it went so smooth, probably the smoothest I've ever seen.
Yeah.
So, hopefully many more like that, so.
Well, we beat last time's record, so we're hoping in 2025 we do the same thing.
I hope so too. Roll call, please.
Target.
Aye.
Mirabella.
Aye.
McCarthy.
Aye.
White.
Motion carried. I'm going to table the 2022 tax levy ordinance. We'll bring that back on the agenda for next month. I need item number 6, a motion to approve the health insurance renewal from Blue Cross Blue Shield for the Village of Winthrop Harbor effective January 1, 2023.
So moved. Second.
I'm going to turn that over to Dave, our village administrator.
In your packets, we ended up doing a comparison. We still use an insurance broker, Price Center Insurance. We had 2 other options. The best option is still Blue Cross Blue Shield of Illinois. The only changes to that policy per Blue Cross and Blue Shield was an increase in the out-of-pocket expense for both single, which increased from $1,200 to $1,500 max out-of-pocket expense, and total family from $3,750 to $4,500 per year. The total increase in the premiums of this plan is 5.3% for the year. Currently, the current market increase for health insurance is about 6.7%. So it's staff recommendations, my recommendations that we keep Blue Cross and Blue Shield.
Great, thank you, Dave. Any other comments? All right, roll call, please.
Target.
Aye.
Mirabella.
Aye.
McCarthy.
Aye.
White.
Motion carried. Village administrator's report. David,
I have no report
you
yet.
have no report. How about clerk's correspondence?
I have to
You have none. All right. Old business. Second reading of an ordinance, I guess, we have to call for a second reading.
The motion would be, the best motion would be to waive the second and actual reading of the ordinance amending section 110.31 of the municipal code of Winthrop Harbor and to adopt as presented.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, motion's been,
Articulated. I can't make a motion.
No. I need a motion.
What you said.
I'll make a motion.
Motion by trustee Mirabella, I need a second.
Second.
Second, all right. Any discussion, Bob? I'm gonna turn it over to you.
It's just something we've been having a discussion.
Yeah,
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, we've talked about what this is. It just changes the licensing hours for the packaged goods stores.
And we're getting together with, we're doing what the other communities are doing.
We're matching that,
Yes,
yes.
so it's gonna help our police department.
Okay. Roll call, please.
Target.
Aye.
Mirabella.
Aye.
McCarthy.
Aye.
White.
Motion carried. I want to thank Pastor Langley for including a little bit about one of our former Mayor Robert Lloyd. With deep regrets, I have learned of the death of our former Mayor Robert Lloyd last week. Robert served as mayor here for 4 terms, and his accomplishments are too many to list tonight. I will be asking the village attorney to prepare a fitting honorarium, which I will present at the December board meeting, and I ask you all to think of appropriate comments you may wish to make at that time. For now, I would simply ask you all to honor Robert with a moment of silent reflection on a life well lived and on his service to this community. Thank you. Other comments, Mayor's comments. Halloween, I want to thank the Park and Rec Board and Community 365 for hosting the trunk or treat event last month. We had a very great turnout. Also thanks to Public Works for getting the great Winthrop Harbor pumpkins out this year, highlighting their artistic skills. They are looking to convert them into something for Christmas. We can't wait to see what Tim and his staff come up with for these hay rolls.
We'll figure something out.
Okay, great. And pickleball. I had the great time playing pickleball. Went over there to see how they were striping the courts, putting the tape down, and ended up playing a couple of games out there. So I need to get in better shape.
Yeah, who won? Mayor, who won the pickleball?
I didn't win. I was swinging that air because I'm used to a tennis racket, not a pickleball racket. But we did. My wife and I did go out and buy pickleball rackets, and actually she's been playing every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday over there. So gives her some exercise. Well, she does have a lot of exercise. She does. She keeps us busy. So, but it's going to be fun. I'm going to try to get over there as much as I can when I'm able to. So, December 3rd, Christmas events. We are going to have a day of festivities on December 3rd. The first thing is breakfast with Santa, reverse Santa run, and the tree lighting events. And I'm going to pass it off to Dave for more details.
Thanks, Mayor. Just a quick update. What we're trying to do is we're keeping the traditions that the village has had for many years, and we're going to continue to build on them. The addition is going to be the reverse Santa run. The reverse Santa run is a little bit unique, taken from what other communities have done and kind of tweaking it to work here. Santa Claus will be escorted by the Winthrop Harbor Police Department through every single street in the village, as long as it's not a cul-de-sac. Escorted by the police, pulled by the fire department. There's going to be a squad car that's going to be the lead car 2 blocks in advance. That's going to be signaling to children that Santa Claus is coming. The children can come out to their driveway. If they're sitting by their driveway, Santa Claus will stop for a picture. The reason why it's called the reverse Santa run, instead of actually Santa handing out gifts to the children, we're asking for a gift that's going to be utilized for our local Toys for Tots program. So one of the challenges to the community is to fill an entire van, which has graciously been donated by the outdoor sports business here in town. So we're hoping to fill up the van and bring a lot of smiles to a lot of children in our community. Once that ends, it's going to go into our regular Christmas parade that the village has had for many years, into the tree lighting, ceremony. We're coordinating with both school districts to highlight some of the talents of our children, entertaining the crowds that are going to be at the tree lighting event. So we're in the process. It's taken a lot of staff, but most importantly, we've had a lot of volunteers in the community that are helping us put this grand plan together, and hopefully everything's going to work out, but we're excited, and we're thankful for the response of the community. So advertisements should be going out within the next day or so. If anyone on the board has any questions.
Well, I'll just add, while we're talking about Christmas stuff, additionally, the 2022 holiday decorating competition is open as well, so you can go to explorewinthopharbor.com to sign up. There's a residential and business division, and registration will close December 10th, and then we'll publish the list of participating homes and businesses so that people can go around and enjoy those, and then the winner will be announced on December 20th.
actually, the home decorating, I've gone, my wife and I go around and check it, and I would say that some of the houses that didn't win, they should have been right up there. I mean, they do such an amazing job of decorating their houses. Incredible. I mean, and there's other people that didn't even participate that decorate their homes, so hopefully everybody will get involved this year too. Absolutely. Thank you. All right. We move on to new business, committee reports, Administration and Community Development Committee, Trustee Hartley.
Make a motion to approve accounts payable warrant 2022-7 in the amount of $148,231.21. Second.
Okay, any discussion on the warrant? Roll call, please.
Target.
Aye.
Mirabella.
Aye.
McCarthy.
Aye.
White.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Make a motion to approve the request to expend funds on the server room relocation project, specifically installation of necessary electrical services, not to exceed $4,000.
Second.
All right, discussion?
We gotta do it.
No.
Yeah, it's just a continuation of a project that was approved 2 years ago, but then we had to hold off spending due to COVID and then other related events. So we'd like to pick that up and finish it off.
So that's gonna get rid of, that's gonna get rid
Yeah,
of the
and then we
fan
close the door.
upstairs?
What's that?
That's gonna get rid of the fan
Yeah,
upstairs?
yeah.
Good. All right. Any other comments? All right, roll call.
Target.
Aye.
Mirabella.
Aye.
McCarthy.
Aye.
White.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Make a motion to approve the request to sign the contract with Computer Help Key for IT services through April 30th, 2023.
Second.
Any discussion on that? All right, roll call, please.
Target.
Aye.
Mirabella.
Aye.
McCarthy.
Aye.
White.
Aye.
Motion carried. Thank you, Trustee Harvey. We move on to item B, Public Safety, Trustee McCarthy.
I make a motion for the approval of quote for FEMA AFG grant for radio equipment.
Second.
Comments or discussion on that? All right. Roll call, please.
Target.
Aye.
Mirabella.
Aye.
McCarthy.
Aye.
White.
Aye.
Motion carried. Thank you, Trustee
Mayor,
McCarthy.
if I could just make a comment?
Yes.
About the there's gonna be a $10,000 match, that right now we're in the process of figuring out where those funds will be coming from. But just to advise the board, once we figure out where those funds are gonna be coming from, what fund, we'll bring it to the board's attention.
$10,000 match?
There's a 5% portion that we pay.
Right.
So we're basically getting $225,000 worth of equipment. We just have to put 5% towards it,
Oh. Okay, excellent.
which is normal for
Right.
these grants.
Okay.
But
Awesome. All right, thank you.
a caveat to this is that when we're gonna order this mass amount of communications equipment, a lot of it might be back ordered, so it might trickle in
Right.
until we get whole. But as it trickles in, we're gonna have to pay the bills as they come in. So 5% increments until this is satisfied.
That's great. That's awesome. Okay. It's gonna give us equipment that we couldn't afford to buy on our own.
Yeah, and I'll acknowledge Michael Sheedy. He helped us in the research of the equipment that we're going to get. We went through some outside agencies, got their input to make sure what we are going to get is gonna last years to come and be compatible with the future technology that could come along.
How long did it take for that grant to come through? This is a grant, right?
Yes,
Okay.
so we put in for it at the beginning of the year.
Okay.
And we just got it a few months ago.
Okay, great.
Yeah, so we already accepted the grant. It's
Right.
radio equipment.
Right.
20 portable radios, 5 mobile radios.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, thank you. We move on to Public Works and Recreation. Trustee Mirabella.
Make a motion for the request for approval for GSI implementation services by Baxter and Women not to exceed $18,000.
Second.
All right, discussion?
Yeah, we have a gentleman that wants to
Yes,
speak.
yeah, for a presentation.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. It'll take me a second or two to get this plugged in, I think. As we discussed at the last board meeting.
Yes.
The board wanted a presentation.
Yes.
And Andrew's from Baxter and Whitman, he's been our go-to guy regarding GIS and the implementation of it, and we've talked to him for years. He's the one that, once he puts on the presentation, it'll absolutely help everybody understand what GIS is, what it can do, and where it's gonna take us. So he's actually the perfect guy to bring in and help us all understand where we're going with this, because this is ARPA funds we're using for this, and I think it's a good use for it to get us where we're gonna go. This is such a long and daunting task. We've talked about it for years on the millions and millions of dollars of infrastructure needs that we have in town, that this is the next step. This is one of the beginning steps to get it to us. And our water sewer master plan that we put together, this is step one of outlining, or what it outlined in that was just this, asset management program and GIS, and get this rolling. And here we are actually making steps toward it, so it really is a good time.
I don't know anything about GIS.
You'll know after tonight.
I'll learn, yeah.
And it's gonna be fascinating.
Yeah.
It really is. When you learn about it, it's fascinating what it can do. And
But you told me some of the stuff.
Yep, and he'll do a lot better job than I would.
While that's booting up, and you can just tell me, it'll be in the presentation if you need to, but are we talking about contracting out a managed service for our GIS, or the initial implementation, and then we would own it and manage it? Is that are we talking about buying GIS software that'll be managed in-house, or contracting the full?
He will be able to answer that question. I'm very limited on what I know, and that's gone beyond what I do believe they're going to help us manage it for years. I mean, part of this implementation and the annual fees to help manage it and update it. They have all of our infrastructure information now because they're the ones who do it all the time. So they're going to help keep us going with this and keep us updated with it. So I guess I did know the answer.
Well, I guess I wonder, outside of infrastructure, are there other village uses for it, like on the police side, or?
Police kind of have their own GIS type thing, but yes, absolutely. The fire department will be able to tie into it and knock out, where hydrants are, or if they're operating. Community development, zoning maps, economic development, lots that are available to develop. I think Rocky can say something about the fire side, but absolutely,
this will help us
village-wide.
too, because now on our CAD maps we have with the county, a lot of other departments that already have this, on the way to the call, they see where the fire hydrants are, which really helps a lot, and people don't know where they're at, so this will help us.
Especially in the winter if they're not clear.
Buried or whatnot.
So yes, absolutely, this leads into asset management village-wide, not just public works. Talking through with Nick, our audit, we'll pull information out of this as well.
Where's computer help key when you need it?
Right there.
We haven't signed the contract.
It's always a good sign when the tech people that you're hiring to do tech work can't get them.
Can't get it going? It's just a projector.
Yeah, but just a disc, but can you explain it without that, or no?
Yeah,
We'll get there, hang on, be patient.
and I can end up emailing out what the presentation is as well. if need be.
Absolutely.
We'll get it going.
But no, as we're even going, so I heard, and a couple of the questions are, so I think from a management perspective, we would help manage, maybe develop some of these apps if we get to it, that I can show off what they are. But otherwise, the intent is that the application itself, the data will be collected, managed by staff. That's the hope, is to kind of get this in the hands of staff and the hands of the users, both to the public as well, and be able to share information back and forth. So I think that's kind of where it is. So it wouldn't necessarily be fully managed by us. We would be looking to help provide some of those tools in the applications for staff to be able to manage it, not only public works, but looking at police and fire, community development, and hopefully the admin as well.
Taking a look at the village's needs right now, especially with its aging infrastructure, can you tell us what benefit a GIS mapping system will be as we start to plan out what our next steps are gonna be, not only for our aging infrastructure, but also with the service connection challenge that we have coming up.
Absolutely. So a couple of the things that go into, that are taken into account with GIS now is the ability to tie all this information together. So again, we'll kind of start even higher level than that, whether we're looking at CIP-related projects and how aged infrastructure, drainage, water infrastructure, or water systems, and then your road program, things like that, how it can all be tied together. And looking at GIS in terms of managing maintenance history of water system, what you're looking at in terms of the road program itself and what needs to be done, how drainage is working, and seeing how this all kind of works together, and then helping these tools being able to help make the decision on what needs to be a priority and how do we balance going forward in terms of the money spent and making sure that it's taken care of that way.
Do you have it on flash drive?
I've got a flash drive on there, I can draw there.
Let me grab another computer, see if that'll work.
And while I talk about, or while you get that set up as well, as we keep moving forward, from a public standpoint, from a resident standpoint, you know, road construction projects, CIP, any projects, it'll be on there, as well as like your water service or your water account. You know, this will be a part of where you zoom in, click on your house, and you'll be able to log into your water service.
The intent would be that it would be publicly available data?
Absolutely. There's obviously some that is and some that isn't. I shouldn't say everything's going to be.
Right, but the layers of mapping that we think are appropriate would be,
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it, the layers.
And just hearing, and that's a good point. One of the ones that I'll show too, that I can pull up some of the public, I won't be able to pull up on there some of the behind the blogging examples, but just hearing some of the conversation regarding the Christmas decorations and the reverse Santa run, those are all things that, it's a hub, it's called, which has a bunch of different specific maps that could be something that would be utilized on the GIS, like where's the location of the decorating, you know, where are you going? And you can route yourself throughout that, and you can have residents be able to upload pictures of their house into that app that the rest of the public can see. So there's ways to interact that way with GIS. And the ability to be able to build that app, that map, to be able to do that is hours of time. It's not days or weeks and things like that. So it's really easy to do and eventually get to the point where the public is the one that's basically managing it, or through staff as well, but it would be something that the public can do there. So it's just ways, again, that kind of engagement side of things too that can be brought in.
So then, people can take pictures of places that aren't theirs, that they don't seem to be really nice looking, and put it on there and show it down there?
There could be a management, yeah, they could. But
I'm just saying.
It wouldn't need to be live. It wouldn't need to be live updates. Like there could be, there's ways to be able to control what's being posted to these.
I'm being a double advocate.
Absolutely.
Because we have people that will do that, and it will turn into a bad show really quick.
They can do that now with Google Maps.
Okay. On our web, I don't do none of that Facebook stuff, so I don't know.
But I know what you're saying.
Or whatever, you know what I'm saying, all that.
Just out on the cloud somewhere.
Whatever. It's a detriment to society. You think it isn't, but it's changed the world for good and bad.
And I think once we do get this going, the visual does help. I mean, trustee Hardy, you've been through GIS, you see it, you know the layers.
Yeah.
Once you get to see the visual, it does help, I believe.
Well, yeah, that's an idea that speaks up.
We're gonna continue the agenda, and then we'll come back once you get that working, okay?
Okay.
All right. I need a roll call on the GSI.
Well, let's wait till after the please.
So
Okay.
let's suspend that.
Excellent.
Oh, even better.
The pressure works.
Fire department.
So thank you very much. I know we started the discussion, and please, as I kind of go through this, there's a lot of kind of slides and text about what GIS is and kind of how the program that we're looking at for the village is going to operate. But as I'm going through things, feel free to ask any of the questions regarding them. I do really appreciate you guys having me out. what we're looking to implement, and what is kind of the Microsoft of the GIS world, is what's called ESRI. It's this ArcGIS kind of world, this ArcGIS product. And specifically for the village, we're looking at ArcGIS Online. So it's basically a cloud-based solution that allows access to all of your GIS data, GIS information, both village-wide, county shared information, there's state data that we can get, eventually getting into some emergency response data that could be available through it as well. But the purpose of it is to really have this one spot for all this information that not only our staff, residents, public, and these applications kind of sharing, but it also integrates with a lot of the other tools that, whether it's current tools or it's going forward with software packages and things like that that the village is looking to implement. Probably the biggest shift in all this, which the biggest shift in GIS is that ability to share this information much more easy and readily and inexpensively. So we talked about some of the licensing and the way to be able to access this. It's now hundreds of dollars a year for like edit capabilities, the ability to have staff be able to edit data in the field, and then to be able to share information publicly as well. So it's really come down in price because they're looking to integrate with so many systems and be able to pull this out of kind of, the GIS nerd in the basement that's building data like me, to be able to give it to the people that are using it on a daily basis. It can be public works staff, it's emergency response, it's in the admin office, it's things like that to be able to really pull all of this together. One of the things that we're doing, so even at B&W, there's a lot of work that we've been doing for the village that we are collecting GIS data as part of those construction and engineering projects. So you have data already kind of being built that we're using as our SOP for some of that work. So really it's looking to be able to take that and share that information right back. So instead of finding ways to be able to deliver hard copy maps and things like that, which we still do, there's still plan drawings and there's plan sets and record drawings, but that information now is housed in the GIS as well. So that GIS data is now will be part of your system and incorporated into what we're building.
What's the storage capacity, because like even with police cameras, I know that the big thing was, we have to store data for so many, that's what becomes a problem. It's not the cameras, it's the storage that costs in the long run.
That's huge, and one of the big parts of the GIS in this cloud kind of environment that Esri has. So as part of this, we're going to call it, there's an organizational and console software, which is what you're going to have. You have access to this Esri cloud, it's called.
So
and that is basically unlimited and very inexpensive going forward. And nice part is GIS data is a lot smaller than video and things like that too. But that's a great question, and that's kind of how that sharing back and forth kind of takes place as well. So just to kind of stress what we're looking at, so this, again, this is what we call the honeycomb. So this is that ArcGIS Online world. So I think what the village is going to start with is, I think we're looking at three or four, I can't remember right offhand, there's 3 entitlements they're called, which is a license. So 3 licenses for the village. I think the total cost in that is $1,000 a year for all 3. But what that gives you access to are all those little honeycomb things are the different apps that are available as part of that. So it's kind of this online world of different applications that can be task specific, or it can be kind of, whether it's shared with the public, it could be something that's just more for survey information to be able to kind of pull the public on different things as well, that has that geographic component. So you might be getting this, use it as a survey monkey kind of thing. But it's providing you that ability to be able to collect that information, store it, and then be able to analyze it after the fact. Everything from that to the web application, which is one of the first ones that we're going to be building, which is the internal web application that this proposal would be, is access to all of your data. So it's your water, sewer, storm, which will be converted over, some of it brought in, which is already in GIS, and some brought in from CAD, overlaid on the county's base map information. So we have ties already back to the parcels and addressing, street center lines, aerial photography, a lot of the different boundaries and district boundaries that are all going to be in this GIS that provides kind of the access to it with then the village-specific information in there. And that village-specific data is one of the next applications, which is called field maps, which is another one of the honeycombs up here as well, which is what field staff is going to be able to use to update if we're doing hydrant flushing. Now the hydrant flushing information, you can get a better location, and then you can start collecting information regarding that. So it's about kind of capturing a visit to an asset, right? So they're going out, they're already doing the task. The task is being done, but now it's about capturing and then being able to have that for analysis going forward of that information out there, manufacturer, model, If there's flushing, if you're doing flow testing on it, and get flow information, obviously for fire would be important there too, or being able to tie back to fire doing that. So I think that's what we're looking at, is how are we pulling all this information together and taking advantage of the work being done. So that's what each of these apps will end up pulling together. So that's kind of, you know, some of the survey 1, 2, 3, all these different things are accessible to that and very easy to build. They're easy applications that can be very specific to a task, or it can be something that's more informative going forward.
So are the field people generating that, sending it to cloud, or they come back to the office and do it either way?
No, it's all done, like, as they're collecting it, so that's an important part.
Tablet?
It's right on tablet, phone.
That's what we do at
Yeah.
work with our prints.
Yeah, so you just sit on your phone, and the application's built, and the data's already in your cloud that it's connected to.
Perfect.
So it's a real-time connection to it. There is no, if there's something being collected in the field, as soon as submit is collected, anybody can see that update. Anybody that has access can
Yeah.
see that update happening real-time.
The original thought process was like a tablet,
Mm-hmm.
but now you
said
can,
you do it with
you
your
can do it
phone.
on your phone.
Yeah, no, it's perfect.
So everybody has it with them all the
Yeah,
time.
they have work phones, so that's perfect.
And where the county's gone with this too, is the county provides what's called a REST service. So we're able to connect directly to the county's data. We don't need to have them send us a download and upload it to this. We're connected live. So anytime the county makes a change, that change is reflected in your GIS immediately as well. So if they update parcels or addressing or streets or anything like that, that's updated directly as well. So again, we're kind of coming back to this, what is that true benefit to the village? It is that single source, we're going to call it, so it's one spot for all of this information. All the different applications are using it at the same time, are using that same data. Addressing will be the same, the hydrant information would be the same. Anything regarding zoning or ordinances that may be updated and linked to anything in here. If we're seeing annexation agreement, everything is in one spot, and all of these different applications are accessing that same data. Can be edited and managed together too, or simultaneously. So as that data is being updated, it's being updated for everyone, and it can be updated from multiple sources. And the hope is it gets to the point where it is used as that kind of decision-making, like we were talking about the CIP, it's helping to provide more information. But it's not a table, it can be a table associated with a map, with color coding, with symbology, with overlays of drainage issues, overlays of your road program, things like that, or as it's going forward with asset management related tasks. So that's the kind of purpose, is to be able to have this kind of one spot where all this information can be looked at and decisions made.
Overlaps itself.
Yep. That's kind of the same as what I'm saying here. It's for all these different tasks that can go into that as well. So let's see if I can find, that's my main thing here, is to see if I can find a demo.
How long has this been in existence, this GIS?
I've been doing GIS for over 20 years. So as ESRI, who, like I said, is that kind of, they have about 99% of the market share.
Right.
60 years.
Really?
The last 10 years is really where it's gotten into this more in the hands of the user, not a more specific task, is really where this ArcGIS Online world kind of came in.
Yeah, because we've been able to take stuff from prints and just put it on a tablet where you couldn't before. So it makes it better.
Yeah, to do that, so this is going to be great.
So I was talking a little bit earlier about the ability to be able to share this information publicly. So this is the village of Windsor. They're up in Wisconsin, just outside of Madison, just north of Madison. And what Windsor has is this public mapping hub. With this still part of that honeycomb, it's called Hub for ArcGIS. It's another one of those honeycomb items. But what this public mapping hub does is it provides access or the ability to have numerous applications that are associated with maps or specific things that they're sharing publicly. Some of the things they've got, so if we're just looking at their zoning map. Another one of the honeycombs, what you're going to see here is what's called Experience Builder. It's another one of those honeycombs in there. And, no, I didn't walk in on that, but what you see is just the same. This is basically what you're going to have. This is one of the first tasks that, or one of the first applications will be something similar to this. It will be internal, so you'll have your utility information in there and all of that. But what you kind of see is as I'm just zooming in, there's more information that becomes available from just the zoning. So this is really just a specific one on zoning map information that they have. And they're actually in the process of starting to add in some of their code into that as well, to have code documents that are going to be linked to this so you can pull those up. They're doing it internally themselves. but that will be some of the things that they're doing. So they're starting to manage this data themselves.
So looking at this one, it's thinking like community development, right? So start with a base of zoning, right? I mean, that's usually the foundational equipment, but then, like, we have a TIF district, we have an enterprise zone, we have properties that may have existing variances that have been granted, right? All of those things would be able to build as layers that someone can click and say.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think that's the beauty of this. As this grows, that's what this is. So this is kind of the starting point, access to all this, but everything going forward just continues to grow. Whether it's additional applications that are built, more data, more information, more accurate information as it's collected and updated that way. But again, it's that kind of capturing what those needs are and being able to pull it together.
Can this link to our ordinances for a specific zoning district?
So are you managing that, like, through, how are you managing your ordinances now?
It's
Is it in a?
amlegal.com.
I'd have to look if it could directly tie to that, but if not, we could, if there's PDFs of it, absolutely those can be associated just as a hyperlink into the map. So if you click on an ordinance or a property that has something, or it might be a subdivision, that each of those could then have that link directly to that ordinance, absolutely. The same thing like photos, things like that you want to documents, I mean, things like that can absolutely be tied directly to it.
What about code violations and such?
So, recording code violations or issuing code violations?
Both.
Recording, absolutely. That, I think, would be a similar one to what we're talking about with the field maps.
Okay.
It would be one for code enforcement, a code enforcement one where they select the location or an address they're at, fill out specific forms that you can go into that, and then be able to associate photos and everything else and be able to pull that.
Would our MSI system tie into this as well for permit tracking?
That's the hope. The hope is that it can. MSI is a little bit, they're not fully there yet with the direct integration with GIS, but they are working on it. That's what we've been told by them.
Okay.
So there are ways to get data out of MSI and into GIS. It just might not be a direct, like, automatic connection yet, but it's coming. I mean, everybody's kind of going to that, to the ability to do it. So if it's not fully there yet, I have confidence it will be.
Okay.
Let's see if there's another good one. So one of the other ones that they had is, so again, a similar one, but they're starting to use this to populate their trails and parks, and as they're going forward, they're building this out more. What's available? They want to start looking at things to be able to have the resident be able to say, hey, I want to find the nearest soccer field to where I am. Does this have a bathroom at it? I mean, they have equestrian trails and all that there as well, but all of that to start to come together. So they're starting to build that too. They're doing that internally. We just built the app, the wrapper we're going to call it, with the data that's in there, and they're going to start populating that and building that data out to be able to share it. So that's the hope, is that this is where we get, and this similar, I would envision something like your, holiday decorations map. That would be an app on here that would just be public facing, that would have, as people are entering, whatever, it could be there's another one called a Survey 123 form. That'd be the one maybe they have to fill out and they have to apply for it and submit pictures to you guys if you want to put them on. But those are things that can be done, and they're done very easily and very fast. There's just one more I'll show. I appreciate you guys taking the time for me. I'm going to see if I can find it. If I can't, this is actually one of our visualizations that's part of the GIS in here for their information that goes to the lead service replacement program that they have going there. That's the public access to it. I can actually send over some of those links to it. But what we end up getting is the ability to be able to pull all these together, again, whether it's for information sessions for residents, or to be able to pull this data back and be able to associate that kind of all the way through. So I think that's kind of the gist of it. I apologize that some of my examples, we couldn't get my laptop set up on it, but.
I think you explained really well.
I mean, it's overwhelming what it can do.
It is.
I mean, is there anything you've been working with, is there anything that it can't do that, you know, hopefully it will be able to do down the road?
Some of the things like, when we start getting into some of the permitting and inspection and some of the existing applications and integrating with those would be some of the things that I think are coming, that are not fully integrated yet, at least not if they weren't built that way to start with. But they're coming. I mean, the asset management software packages out there are all GIS, Esri-based, they call it. So like their mapping and their data side of things is all this ESRI data, ensuring that all the counties are using Esri data. So I think it's looking at that and being able to pull these maps and apps together for that kind of recording of data. I think we're going to see more contractors that are going to be using this for their kind of delivery of deliverables as part of their projects. I think we're seeing more of that. There are things called collaborations, which is what we're doing with some contractors are already doing that. They basically provide them with an app that allows them to record. We're doing it on meter replacement. It's a lot of that. So they're doing lead service line inventory as part of a meter replacement program. So we're basically, our client is providing that application to the contractor instead of them delivering a spreadsheet or something like that. Now it's all in GIS.
It's like building permits. Could be one, right, where we could quickly look back or see where active permits are,
Absolutely.
what's completed work. Yeah. No, I'm sitting here like geeking out on like 30 different ideas running through my head and be like, okay, no, let Tim figure out the core stuff.
But honestly, I'm with you on it, because there's so much that it can do.
Yeah.
And so many places that we can get to, village-wide, not just for public works. There's a ton of it to do with public work. Because my next step is obviously tying the asset management program that we've already talked to him about. You know, it's just so many things that can be done that it can only benefit as we move forward. We have a meter replacement program that has to come. We have lead service that has to be replaced. You know, these are things that we're already talking about, and it's just getting this stuff going. And then also making it user-friendly for the resident to go in and see information.
That's one of the ones I would show, and again, hopefully, I can come back in a few months maybe, if everything goes well, that we get started and everything gets approved, to come back kind of show where we're at with some of this, and I'll make sure it works at that time too. But to be able to show some of those things and talk through some of the examples on here, like we were talking with the resident engagement. There's something that we did as part of, again, our Honeycomb, which was using the Survey 123 app and what's called Operations Dashboard. That was being used in Elk Grove Village. They had issues with flooding and ponding, we'll call it. They called it residential ponding. And part of that issue was it's a historic problem that they were starting to address over the course of the last year. They really were trying to gather information. So the initial survey that went out to residents was, you know, if you've lived here longer than 10 years, is there a history of flooding in your yard, in your street, in your side yard, basement, anything like that? And then a litany of questions regarding that ponding. They ended up getting, so that's tied directly to the GIS. So the resident would enter their address, and that address, that would drop a point on the map. If they had photos, they could upload photos of historic things. And then what that did is it triggered in this dashboard showing where I think they ended up with 475 completed surveys as part of that were talking about historic flooding issues that they were having. And then what they did is they went through and systematically addressed that both internally with consultants that were doing some of that, and then some contractor work, and then they started looking at what are remedies that would take care of these, if they were identified as true problems, like there was, you know, a shed on top of an inlet in the backyard or something like, or if there were more drastic issues than that, and then starting to look at what those remedies are and starting to put those out there publicly. You know, we're going to look at running another pipe in the backyard, things like that for drainage, but it was ways to kind of interact and gather information from the public, and then be able to use that information to hopefully start coming up with solutions that would solve some of those issues. So it was a really good back and forth that is still underway. They went through that part, and now they're also doing, through the spring and summer, anytime there was a storm event, they were having inspectors out to any ones that they hadn't confirmed yet, to be able to go actually check what was going on and take pictures and things. So it was a really good exercise in using GIS and that data to help on that flooding issue.
Now, you did say during the presentation that you do have some data for the village department that could easily go right into.
Absolutely will. Yep. Everything we have and existing information, not only that we've collected as part of our project work, but we have done work with CAD and with some of the GIS data already, some of that conversion for mapping and things in the past. So yeah, that's gonna be that starting point for this.
Whether it's our water, storm, sanitary maps, it's already there, to the water sewer master plan study that we just did, that would go in there. The pavement condition report that we have, that would go in there. We have so much that's just ready to just get uploaded and go. Because Baxter Woodman's been doing this for so long, and they've been doing our information for so long, that it's just ready to just click and go.
And the county parcel records are publicly accessible, so that those just will pull in.
So what we end up doing with that is we actually have an agreement with them as it is with the county for data sharing. So yeah, we just, and we'll tie, it's again, that service is in there, but it's a direct tie to all of their data. So yeah, it's really, and the county has really good data too. So it's a great start. I mean, with that, just the base map data by itself, with the addressing and aerial photography and all that, it makes a building footprint. So they have a whole lot of data.
Thank you for coming out tonight.
Absolutely, no, thank you very much for having me. No, thanks, sorry, some of the.
No, I just,
One real question, just one quick question. In the future, as we start sharing information, integrating between departments, would that interface be able to, for example, provide the police department call history run based on a map?
Hopefully. One of the things that we're still working on is the ability to be able to tie directly to emergency response, like whether it be dispatch and things like that. But we have been able to do it in a handful of places. There's just, some of it depends on who actually does the dispatch. They do it internally?
Monoline.
Oh, actually, that may be, yeah.
Because you're dispatcher, Monoline.
Yeah, no, yes, absolutely, I think that's absolutely something. And it would integrate directly with this, it's just they would have their own, like, that's where it would be locked down even more. Specific users would only be able to see information, things along those lines. But yeah, that's the hope, is that this becomes that spot where all the different pieces kind of tie into that one area, and then it's just users have the specific access to it. Whoever it may be, here's what you get to see. And it can be locked down completely, or just bits and pieces can only be accessible by certain users. You know, you could have full access to police and fire, but maybe Tim needs partial access to some of the information regarding public works related calls that came into dispatch or something like that too. So there's ways to be able to do that too, to be able to tie it in that way.
That's truly.
Yeah, and so we could, I mean, these things are all layers on top of each other, right? So in theory, like if police data was in there for something like car break-ins, right? We could see historical trends, but then we could look at a layer of where LED lights have been installed, and did more lumens in a neighborhood deter that type of crime in that particular neighborhood?
100%. I think that's actually probably the key to a lot of this, is looking at being able to see trends and things like that based on it. Or if you have a string of break-ins that are happening in a certain area, but they change now some of the patrolling in that area. We up the patrolling at certain times, because you can see it down to the time of day it happened, the hour, and be able to change it and see, did that make a difference, and look at it from that perspective too. We've done something very similar to this, and I apologize, I don't know if I'm going to be able to pull it right up. Let's see if we can. But the city of Crystal Lake, we have a direct connection to their dispatch, to McHenry County, to McHenry's dispatch, and it's a live connection. So they have in their they have an EOC at Crystal Lake. Their EOC is live updates, this dashboard I was talking about, live updates of every call that's coming in. Police, fire, and public works, and then the history, you can pull different dates and report. But then also what they're providing publicly is that same data, but it's being normalized, so it goes down to the 800 block of a road. It's not specific, and it's not, but now it's publicly accessible that way too. So there is ways absolutely to have that live connection to that data when you're being able to pass that back and forth. Yep.
And I think that's where you get the live information and the correct data to make those decisions. You know, now we need to prioritize this 100 block to get a new or install a street light because of X, Y, and Z. You know, I just think these things really do help you make those decisions.
So like this is it here, and I'll go real quick. This is that one. This is the public-facing application that Crystal Lake has. This is an operations dashboard. It's called, and then a web map that we built as part of that. But it's live connection, so a new call comes in and it will show up on here. Again, it'll be normalized, and there's a much more detailed one that the actual police, that's in the EOC for them. But again, it just gives a little bit of information regarding when the call, these are active calls. I'm sorry, they're not active calls. I think they did a 5-hour, I think it's a 5-hour delay on when, there's another way to be able to do that so that people aren't chasing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Different things like that, to come back to exactly what we were talking about, right? Ways to be able to try to combat some of those things. But there's just different options that, and this is one that keeps growing too. They're adding more functionality to show residents. There's a handful of residents that are kind of on a little committee that they're using to look at this and be able to come up with some of those. They can look at different dates and what categories are in there and things like that. But again, it's live updated. So once this is built, it's kind of done. I mean, it just sits there and chews data up and spits it out for consumption.
So I was looking at Elk Grove Villages, and they have a map for leaf collection. So I'm sure many residents would be. Go ahead.
That would be phenomenal.
They can stop asking, stop commenting on Facebook.
Don't know when they're gonna be on there.
Just look at the names.
Can you see where he's at?
Yeah, we're on my road.
Knowledge is power. So if they know where he's at, they're not complaining because he's not there.
So, just
Maybe more than a 5-hour delay on that. They don't come
back.
Trying to get them over to their street.
Right.
Just for the board, so our plan moving forward, and the request that's before you, is for us to start this process, but this process is focused on mapping our water utilities. Thus, we're gonna be using ARPA funds for paying for this, but our main priority, short-term priority, is starting to map out our own water assets.
And the beauty of that is being able to use the ARPA funds for it, is all the wrapper and everything that's going in that whole ArcGIS online build is applicable across the board going forward. Like, that has to be done no matter what, no matter where we started. So the nice part is then, that can be done using ARPA, hopefully with ARPA, and then be able to start adding those other pieces in on top of that as we go forward. Yeah.
Yeah, this is something we're gonna just keep revisiting and adding to annually, the way I see it. You know, the way I would hope that we go with this, because even down to these type of things, leaf collection, everything. There's just so much information it can provide. And that's what residents want nowadays. They want information and they want it now. You know, so if we have live data or even a few hours delayed data, I think it's good.
Are there reporting tools on the back end?
There is. That's one thing that's a little, sometimes there's a little more configuration on the report, but once they're built, they're really easy to use. And there's actually templates that we can use that pull things up, especially for kind of internal things. We get into asset management, that's a whole nother animal that has really good reporting on there as well. So yeah, there's different ways to, all the data can be basically exported out to a Excel file too. So any of the back end data, that is super easy to get into a spreadsheet too.
I can't wait to see it. I can't wait to see all the layers that we have on it.
Yep.
That's amazing. I mean,
It's great. I'm excited. I'm really excited for this.
I mean, I cannot believe, is most municipalities have GIS?
They're getting there. Yeah, I think we do GIS for I think 60, but then we really do different GIS projects, GIS work. But then we help to manage about 30 different municipalities in some capacity or another on how they're implementing. It's a wide range. You guys have had GIS. It's just now it's looking at actually having the applications to go along with the GIS.
Right.
The mapping has been done that way, the Atlas books and some of the printouts and large scale maps and things have been done there too. But now it's taking that kind of next step into the application side of it.
Wow. Thank you.
No, thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you, Andy.
Yeah, thanks. I need a roll call.
Hargit.
Aye.
Mirabella.
Aye.
McCarthy.
Aye.
White.
Motion carried. So we want this done tomorrow.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
So the next, I have a motion for request for approval for proposal from Computer Health Key not to exceed $23,277.63 as part of the Public Works remodel project.
All right.
So
You just basically said it, part of the new building.
So basically, Tim will tell you, I have a skeleton key on my key ring that we get into the front door of that building out there. We're finally gonna get, like I've said for years since I've been on this board, we're finally gonna meet up with the Taj Mahal out there. We're gonna get like this building's had forever, key fobs, and be able to get into things. And I literally have a big key. I told him I was gonna keep it and put that lock on the door in the new building, just because I know what key it is, because it's an ordinary, big, large key that's been on that door probably since I was born. So, Basically, it's just updating that building to modern, and we're gonna get a couple cameras.
It's installing the key fob on 7 or 8 doors, I forget exactly what it is. And then we're installing 3 cameras.
Okay.
One at the fuel pumps, one at the salt barn, and one at the front gate. Something, security-wise, we've always wanted, and now the time, and then, I don't know the correct term, but it's like the main brain to figure it out, because the one we going to use isn't available, right? Is that how it goes? You could explain it better to me.
For the cameras?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's all gonna feed back into our central system to the internet.
There's fiber already ran out there for that?
We've got, Ethernet for.
Gotcha. Okay.
But that's what this contract is.
Okay.
And this is part of the grant funds, or this is separate from those?
This is,
Our building fund.
this is part of the grant fund.
Yeah, because it's for the
Yes.
Right. It's an upgrade.
There's 2 different grants I gotta keep.
Right.
The line item Bob created separate.
It's in there.
It's in there,
This
right?
was all figured into the grant?
Yes, sir,
Yes,
yes.
it was.
Okay, all right. Great. Any other comments? Roll call, please.
Target,
Aye.
Mirabella.
Aye.
McCarthy.
Aye.
White.
All right, third thing I have is, move to set aside the rules of President and Board of Trustees and waive the first and second reading of the ordinance revising water and sewer rates, and to adopt as presented.
Second. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Target,
Aye.
Mirabella.
Aye.
McCarthy.
Aye.
White.
Aye.
All right, the fourth thing I have is a motion to request to approve Public Works Building renovation contract, Partners in Design and RAS Construction of Kenosha, Wisconsin.
Second.
So basically, this was what we had on the table 2 years ago, 3, five, but
We've been waiting a long time, but the wait was worth it, because we're getting $617,000 from the state. That grant actually has come through. We've actually even reported on our first periodic report. Nothing to do, but we haven't done anything, but, so, the first thing coming out of that was the asbestos removal that we did, last week. That was on the last month's board meeting. This is the actual contract we've been waiting for, and we're ready to go, and everything is set to succeed.
So we had one with them, but obviously it's only, the contract only lasts so long, as building products go up,
Exactly.
blah, blah, blah. So, yeah, this is settling that in so we can move forward.
Tim, Tim, you want to just comment about the other funds that we're still looking into, what funding options we're going to be doing?
Yes, that's exactly what I was reaching for. So, overall, we got a $520,000 contract from the state through the DECO grant, a $94,920 grant from the state from DECO, and then the American Rescue Plan Act funds will also cover $70,000 of this, totaling with that $23,000. I don't have it in front of me, but it's like just under $700,000. All funds we receive from somebody else and not corporate funds from our own bank.
Right.
So that, to me, is a success that, as frustrated as I've been over the last 5 years.
You have, but hey.
I have,
right to-
there's no denying. But now that we're here, it's worth the wait. We got the grants, and it's a lot of, I don't wanna say free money, but it is, we put a lot of hard work into it and getting it, and it's here. And we're funding it through a lot of different sources, but ultimately, it's gonna get done.
And the person in Springfield is working with you very
Phenomenal,
Yeah.
yes.
I know we had that discussion too.
Yeah. We went through 7 or 8 grant managers,
Yeah.
just trying to get it, and the last one got it through, the one you talked to, I forget his name.
Yeah, Kyle Fuller.
Yes, Kyle Fuller, right? And then now, the new
No,
grant
Alex, I'm
manager?
sorry, Alex.
Alex Fuller, that's right.
Yeah.
We've had a couple conversations, and that's why I had to submit the periodic, plan to, and she's helped make sure that we don't miss anything.
Right.
Because having the 2 separate DECO grants, it makes it a little confusing, and it makes it a little more difficult, but we want to make sure we put the line items that we're funding for, electric or HVAC or, locks and cameras, put those on the right line items, get it in so there's no question. Nick has been a big help. He's got his Excel sheet for reporting purposes to you. So once we get to a point where we're going to report to you on the progress, on the funding, we have that, so we're going to be down to the penny to be able to let you guys know where we're at. So I think, like I said, I think we're set up to succeed, and it's it's really a 4-month project, but with winter coming, obviously painting and stuff, we've made the contract a 6-month contract for them to complete. So we're confident that staff will be able to occupy the space even prior to the roof being, the coating putting on the roof and the painting on the outside. So other than that, we should be in.
Could you make one other comment?
Sure.
Based on all of the cost-saving measures that you've taken, because you've done a lot of cost-cutting measures.
There's a lot of struggles with this project. A lot of things that have frustrated me, as I said.
Yeah.
One of them is now that this grant has come through, cost of construction has been driving up the last year and a half. So we've had to cut different things out of the project that we wanted in there to be able to stay within our allotted funds. So we're still happy with it, things I wish we would have been able to keep, but there are things I think we can address maybe in the future. No different than this building. When this building was built, it was built with the cheapest vinyl tile in the hallway, and then after, X amount of years, when it was time to upgrade it, they went to ceramic tile. So those are the type of things that we kind of scaled back on. We are going to lose a few bay doors, but being just a storage building, and it stores all the tractors and the zero turns and that kind of stuff, the need for 8 bay doors wasn't there. So we decided to go there. Instead of changing the openings, we left the openings, and we're just going to replace the same 12 or 14-foot door there. So those are the type of things. So we've cut back on things due to the cost of construction. Some of the requirements with the grant has caused the construction cost to go up. But it's something we've worked through, and we've succeeded, and we've come out on the other side ready to go. Brash is ready to go. They're excited. I think we'll be able to get started probably the first week of December. So they got a crew ready to go.
Thank you, Tim, and thank you for going all that cost cutting.
I thank you guys for sticking with us and dealing with the frustration. It's been frustrating, but ultimately it's the right decision.
And some of the stuff internal, you told me that maybe we could do it in-house at some other time.
Paying prevailing wages also throws a wrench into the project. Right. So the one thing I couldn't cut out and have somebody do was the interior painting. Right. So staff is going to do the painting. That contract itself was $17,000. And it wasn't a lot of space to do. That I thought it was worth $17,000 worth of painting. Right. I'd rather spend 2 days myself in there rolling it.
I'll help too.
But those, and we've had other people, residents, say, I'll come in and paint for $17,000. I'll come help. So that has been, the good side of all this. So we're going to make it work, and everything is fine. We're getting the technology that we need, the safety that we need. We'll have areas for the guys to train, areas for residents to come in and meet, areas for the plans that have been in storage bins for years that now we can bring out and have them ready and look at. So it's all good, and we'll get there.
We're doing a groundbreaking or anything like that?
Breaking any ground except the concrete inside. I'm sure Dave will get a picture with the contractor.
Maybe at the end.
Dave will have a ribbon cut. Big fair says ribbon cut.
I honestly, I think it's more toward the end, the ribbon cutting at the end.
Yeah.
I think that's what, everybody has waited for. Me at the front of the line. So I think that is more toward it. I'm confident Dave will be there taking pictures or asking me to send him pictures. So we'll keep the board and the public updated on the progress. I think that's something that's needed as well.
Well, you have a lot of before pictures.
We do.
Right, so to be able to compare.
Even when we started taking the cabinets away, some interesting things
You
we
wanna
found.
see the mold? You wanna see the black mold?
The mold, the 30 years of droppings, you know, there's a lot of interesting stuff. You know, but construction was done interesting back in the 70s or 60s, or whenever they built some of these walls. You know, it was interesting.
When we do have the ribbon cutting, we need to get Dick Roberts.
Oh, absolutely. He's been an advocate for this and pushed for this for
Harder than
10
me?
years. Yeah, harder than Trustee Marabella.
No.
He was
He
pushing.
wouldn't stand up and say anything, come on now.
Well, come on.
Who, the mouse says that, he doesn't say nothing, he sat over there like a little bird in the nest, come on. Be real if you're gonna talk reality.
Yeah.
Started Fritz.
Jeez.
Well, thank you, Tim.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
I need a roll call.
Target,
Aye.
Mirabella.
Aye.
McCarthy.
Aye.
White.
Aye.
Motion carries. All right, thank you, Trustee Mirabella. We move on to public comments. Anybody would like to address the board, we just ask you to provide us with your name and your address. All right, we have nobody. Anyone? Okay. We move on to unfinished business. I guess I'll start down on my left. Trustee McCarthy.
Just welcome again to Officer Brown. Just thank you for choosing to serve with us. It's really our, I would say congratulations, but we're the ones that should be congratulated to get such an asset to join us, so thank you again. Thank you, Lene, for serving. It's tough to get people to do some of these committees, and just excited to see that you're going to be a part of this, so very excited about that. And of course, Jenna, who's not here, but her as well. And just thank you to the police. I mean, there's always tough calls, but I know like lately there's been, you can see the report, a lot of tough calls, same officers, having to do those and just, appreciate what they're doing and understand how difficult that is, so, that's it.
Thank you, Trustee Marabella. Trustee Hargit.
I'm McCarthy. People often get
McCarthy, looking right at you.
I know we'll talk more at the next meeting, but just, condolences to former Mayor Lloyd's family, and we can talk about his legacy more at the next meeting. I will say welcome to Lene, and she attended, the bylaws for the EDC require that you attend 3 meetings. And I think in the first meeting, well, one, she was actively engaged, right? Like jumped right in with questions, wanting to understand where have we been and adding ideas. But she also immediately said, I can help take minutes. And you saw all the other members say, yes, she is in. What do we need to do? But she has jumped right in, attending these meetings, and already, I think is a vital part of that group, and look forward to that group. They're actively working right now on a updated economic development strategy, and that should be coming soon. And so excited for her joining. We had some other guests at our last meeting that were attending their first meeting and kind of feeling things out and going through, so we may have some other names as well.
Great, thank you, Trustee Hargit. Trustee Weiss.
Thank you. Welcome, Officer Brown. Glad to have you on board. It's going to be a great asset to the village of Winter Harbor. And Lene, welcome aboard. I know you understand puns really well. So, welcome. For Sanjay's got his hand up there. So anyway, thank you very much.
Thank you, Trustee Weiss. Trustee Marabella.
Yeah, I'd like to welcome both of you too. Thanks. It's nice when people do stuff in our village. It's what makes our village good. So volunteers are great. And obviously, you're in a paid position, but that's good. To come and do something like that after you retire is nice. So appreciate that. I want to speak for Alana tonight, just for the not for her, but she usually will say stuff. The Trick or Trunk was amazing. My wife and daughter went. It was great. I'd like to thank the police department for our trick or treat. We do our trick or treat the day of Halloween, Their presence is very good out there. We've never had any problems. It's wonderful. The kids love it. The adults love it. It's just a great time, so I'd like to thank for that. I do know, the basketball stuff is going on still. For the Park District, Christmas stuff, I know we have a committee, David's got together for Christmas, and we're doing all that stuff, which is great. I love that. I'm glad Tim's finally happy because the building's getting done. The leaf pickup, I have to say, my road has not been done, so I feel everybody's pain. If it snowed today, the water was filling up in the street because the leaves are blocking everything, and so just bear with us, we're working on that, so I know.
They were out today.
I know, they have been, they just have not got into our side yet, but that's fine, I've seen them on 9th Street, I've seen them. It's a big village, I get it.
We're incredibly fortunate to have such a high tree coverage across the community.
My neighbor's a younger guy, and he said, hey, the leaves are gonna fall, so that's basically it, but thanks for coming out tonight, everybody, that was nice to see the one. The pickleball, I hope you guys have a TV show coming out soon, like I'm seeing coming on the TV soon, so I'm glad the mayor came out for pickleball. I'm excited for that. They put a court out on the tennis courts, and now they're inside and they're working with the walkers. I think it's a great idea. So it brings more people, older people active in the community, and I love it. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Marvella. I've already said my thanks to Officer Brown and Lene. I'd like to thank everyone for coming out on such a great night, rain and snow, but I want to wish everyone a happy Thanksgiving. And with that, I'll ask for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second. Roll call, please.
Target,
Aye.
Mirabella.
Aye.
McCarthy.
Aye.
White.
Aye.
Meeting adjourned.